What's going on, everybody? Episode 9 on my X, starting it off hot. Back in the booth, it feels like it's been forever since we did this one. I know episode 8, we had to do a little earlier in the week, so it's been about a week and a half since I got to join you guys. Hunter, Goof, how y'all doing so far?
Dude, I'm doing good, man. Stoked to be back. It does feel like forever. I feel like we've missed an episode or something, but with On My X, we haven't missed a beat, but for us, it feels like it's been a little longer. Glad to be back at it. We've got a lot to cover today. My Lakers lost today, so it's a 2-1 series now in the finals.
Yes,
but
they did.
But we
Crazy
don't know.
loss.
That's
Jimmy
a one-off,
buckets.
dog. That's a
Slightly
one-off.
embarrassing.
Buckets.
That's a one-off, dog. Jimmy Butler is not going to drop 40, 12, and 11 ever again in his whole career.
He's got that dog in him, though, man.
I don't know. I'm not going to rule
out
it
of
out.
anyone in that series, he's got the most dog in him, but the talent is overwhelming for the Lakers.
I didn't get to watch any of that, but I'm super happy to see Jimmy Buckets get some and make this a series because the NBA
you can say it's a series, but it's just for ratings, dog. We all know it's just for ratings. Whatever. We'll get 5 games instead of 4, anyways. Glad to be back with the Halo content with you guys. Obviously, Faisal, we definitely missed you this weekend when we threw on our first On My X live stream, but glad to have you back. And you're joining us from a new location. Tell us what's going on with you, Faisal.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? It has been like what's the saying, about 10 days since we got together, so I'm just trying to get my feet back planted on the ground. But right now I'm actually in San Antonio visiting my parents and my family. Right now I'm actually in my brother's bedroom. As you can see, it's not my normal setting. He's got like a shoe rack full of a bunch of heaters right here.
We know some kids at home already watering at the mouth, bro.
Travis Scott Air Force Ones, and it is some.
Shouldn't be hard to get your feet on the ground with that many shoes, right?
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, it's been good, man. Competed in these Halo 3 tournaments. Obviously, Hunter, you were playing in those too, so that's always fun. And yeah, just watching these Halo 5 events, we're seeing Sentinels do some damage. And yeah, just enjoying sports like you guys, Lakers, Heat. Hopefully that continues to be a good series. Honestly, I wanted to go to at least 6 games. We'll see if we can. But if I were to bet on this, I would bet for it to be over in 5. But I would like to see a good series. So yeah, overall, man, it's been good. Good past few days, a good week and a half or so, and excited to get back for another episode.
Wes, you took off last weekend for a wedding. Why don't you give us a little bit of the inside scoop? You probably can't talk a lot about it, but how was it, man?
Man, got to see my best friend get married. Very few things and moments in this life I'll be able to cherish like something like being a part of that. So was super proud of him, man. Handled himself like a champ. Got the wife of his dreams in his arms, and it's a good day for him, man. It was great to celebrate him and have his weekend with him and the rest of the boys just wreaking havoc and not remembering.
I was gonna say, do you remember any of this weekend?
I remember the important parts, and I think that's all we're gonna say.
So that means it was a good weekend.
It was a damn good weekend, but it was too short, is what I'll say. Other than that, Tennessee Vols are 2-0 this season, so I got to give a big shout out to them, the hottest current team in the country in football from last season. 8 straight wins. The Ravens got another dub this week. Got to forget about the Chiefs' loss.
I was going to say.
The last time we talked. We're not bringing that up. Okay? It's a sensitive subject. Okay, this episode will be very short.
That'll do it for episode.
But overall, great things happening in sports. You got the League of Legends World Championships kicking off. I've been staying up way too late watching some of those matches. It's unfortunate they're in China, so it's like a complete opposite side of the world, and all their matches are at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
Not my time that I'm up. Actually, opposite times that I'm up. But I'm trying to enjoy that as well. I just love all esports. So I've been paying attention to just everything competition-wise in League of Legends. Just a big shout out to Riot and the production that they put on. I mean, someone tweeted it out last night when I was watching, and it really hit me where they were like, Riot Gaming through this coronavirus pandemic is putting on like the biggest tournament of all time, broadcasting to every major country in the world, like Europe, China, US, South America, you name it. They have representatives there and casters of all languages and whatnot to kind of feed all of their markets. It's absolutely insane. We can just hope that one day Halo gets that big. But I think Riot is pioneering.
We're going to get there.
Dude,
Riot is pioneering the pathway.
I love that,
us,
like the unity and seeing like the casters from all over the world. Like that Worlds vibe is like unmatched.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And any sort of Worlds event for a game is just it's so legendary.
Gets me so hyped. I mean, I remember a couple years ago when they had like the dragon flying around the stadium. Like their production is like
so badass.
insane,
That's so badass.
dude.
What in the world?
I got up this morning at like 5 in the morning to get ready for Sundays is kind of a long day for me. So I got up at 5 in the morning to start getting ready, and I had seen that you were tweeting like an hour before, Wes, and I was like, oh yeah, Wes has been up watching that league run.
And it's crazy if you think about it. Like, I don't want to get way too off topic, but like we talk about these grand esports events now, and we're in awe at like how amazing they are. And really, esports is just at the cusp of like the takeoff, right? Like obviously it's now more than ever we consider it mainstream or close to it, but just imagine the quality and the production that we're gonna have in like 6-7 years, you know, when it's even
in
more
20 years.
Yeah, because you already see all these billionaires, man, starting to invest in esports, and it's just becoming so much more of a, you see the COD League. Yeah, the COD League like is franchising now, and there's like so many big things happening in esports, man. And we see some crazy events now, don't get me wrong, but man, to think about what it's going to be like in a few years when there's even more backing behind it, and financially and just in terms of media and everything, it's going to be insane. So I'm hyped.
It's crazy for us to have like been in on the ground floor of it. Like I feel like our parents talk about stuff that they were around for the start of, you know, and for us, it's like, man, we got to be at the first esports events when they were in like ballrooms at hotels and stuff, and now they're filling up convention centers and stadiums, and we're just seeing it continue to grow, you know. And even in the Halo scene, man, like I think about the global championship, like that was a high point for me. I know it was Halo 4, but that was like such an insane experience and like atmosphere there, and we've seen glimpses of it, you know, with our worlds and stuff like that. So it's only up from here, you know, and especially with the new game around the corner, I think we're going to see some cool things for Halo. Personally, for me, I don't know if you guys feel this way. This might be kind of a hot take, but I think we're kind of in for me, it's kind of a special renaissance we're kind of in with Halo. In the past, we used to always have to wait like a month or two for like events. We were always playing towards like an event that was a month out, 2 months out, sometimes 3 months out if it was an off season. But like the fact that we have a tournament every single week right now that you can just easily jump in on the fly from home, play whatever game you like, whether it's Halo 3, Halo 5. Like I think there's something cool and something special about that, and I don't think we should take that for granted at all, because like it's either that or nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's one of those things too where that's all we have. So it's, let's be happy about it. But to be honest, ideally, we would like to have had, you know, a bigger scale. And I mean, obviously the pandemic and all this stuff played parts in everything that we're talking about too, and delays and stuff, and not having the standard, what we're used to kind of schedule. But yeah, I mean, ultimately it's 100%. It's better to have this than for us to just be in a complete kind of limbo waiting. And I think kind of having these different Halo 3, Halo 5 competitions really gives, you know, the community and people like us something to look forward to, who are at the end of the day, man, as Halo fans, we want something and we almost demand something like a product or some sort of competitive platform. And, you know, being given that with the way we have been given it recently with these weekly tournaments is definitely something to look forward to.
I think the best way to look at it is to understand that like the concurrent tournaments that we have every weekend that are great options for our players and our community right now are something that we really need to hold on to and maintain and continue going, because it gives you that CS kind of vibe where there's a tournament every weekend, there's something going on, gives players opportunities to showcase their skill, to beat teams that they have no business beating. Like it
just
gives
staying
you
involved.
so many more reps,
competitive stuff. Yeah,
it's not just scrims 3 months and then they go to a LAN tournament. That being said, we're never going to be we're never going to be able to replace what a LAN tournament gives us, and the magnitude of the feeling of a LAN tournament, not only the cash prizes and the incentives that way, but like those two are never going to be able to like distinguish each other or themselves from, or actually like those two will never be able to like make up for one of those missing. But in a world where we have both of those, like that's actually an environment I want to be a part of, and that's what I think the future holds. I think getting these concurrent opportunities for our community is key, just to continue to allow them to be active, because other than that, it's what Queen throwing money eights every every night. Like
the shout out.
Like what else are we gonna be doing here?
To be honest, that's a great point. As you were saying that, Wes, I was waiting for you to finish, but then you actually said it, before you finished. Was, now that I think about it, in a perfect world, I would love to have both of it, have the best of both worlds. So even when we're back in a position, as speaking in the whole world, like where hopefully we get past this pandemic and things start going back to some, we start having LAN events and we have, stuff like that. I would love to have, those forecasted, say we look at the roadmap. Oh, there's going to be 6 major LAN tournaments this year, right? But so that's like one every couple months. And you're right. It's not the best case scenario to just get online and play for nothing for 2 months just to go to one tournament and put all your eggs in that basket and hope you do well and make some money. I think in a perfect world, we would have this weekly stuff and some of these smaller, maybe even $1,000 pot or $500 pot on the weekends kind of tournaments leading, every weekend. And then, the major ones would be, on that roadmap. So I think that's a great idea. And hopefully that's something we can see moving forward.
Yeah, I think CS does that a lot, and they give their pro players and just their community the opportunity to compete. Yeah, and it's like a lot of the top teams won't even bother in some of these tournaments. They'll be like, they're too big for it, and that's understandable. Like if it's not worth your time, then don't do it.
And it leaves more opportunity for the
exactly. It does give the back nine opportunity to compete, to get that tournament feeling, to establish themselves in the league, like as a serious competitor. It gives them practice. It gives them like tournament experience. All sorts of benefits come from it. Just being active and forcing players to maintain a certain status in your community. Like I am like this good, as well as like small cash incentives like that pay the bills. I mean, that's the goal for anybody trying to be a professional gamer, right? It's tough when there's a tournament every 3 months and you're going in with a top 12 seed, and then all of a sudden you have to beat like inconceivable for top 6, or you're not getting any money. Right?
That was my week. That was my Friday right there. Thanks for just rubbing that in. I really appreciate it.
I actually had no idea, but I probably hit the nail on the head there. But I'm just saying, like back when I was a professional player, I didn't have sponsors. I didn't have an org. I didn't have anything. I paid my way to every event. I was on BTH. Who the heck were we? We were a 9 seed going into the first tournament.
And shout out to those stipends though.
I got a $400 stipend that
$400 sick, dude. Yeah,
that pays for my hotel room. And then it's like, if I don't get top 8 at this event, I literally just spent the last 3 months playing every single day, and I don't get any money.
And it's like, you get to point check somebody.
I do get to point check people.
That's priceless, all right?
It's like back then you had to get like top 3. I did the math, and it was like back then I had to get top 3 in order to make 2K, in order to be able to like successfully say that I had a decent event. Like players nowadays got it good, and they got weekly tournaments that not only do you have orgs, you have sponsors, you have weekly tournaments now, but the prize pool of the bigger tournaments are 10 times bigger, with Worlds being 1 million. So
I think on a deeper level too, as a competitor, like you can scrim, like for all of you guys out there trying to come up and whatever, like you can scrim and all that, put in all the practice possible, but there's nothing like getting tournament reps in. There's nothing like being placed in that situation in a do or die now in a tournament where if you lose, you're out. And so having these like miniature events every Friday basically is good practice of what that pressure is like and having to make the right decisions in a situation where it matters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just speaking for myself, even if, and this is the competitive nature in me, and I'm sure in anybody that plays something competitively and is trying to win. But yeah, like being in something that means something, whether that be, I mean, even, I don't want to take it. It's definitely, there's a line that divides, playing in a tournament, even if it's kind of small, than it is like playing, say, it's hard to get your 50 in MCC these days. So I remember playing on my 49, like trying my ass off, making sure I don't lose the game so I can get the 50. So there's a little bit of difference, like playing online. There is some competitiveness that comes out, but to y'all's points, that tournament time, whether it's an online weekly one that doesn't mean as much, or one at like a LAN for, a much bigger prize pool, it just brings out something else in a team, and it really like tests you to that, to that level. And I think it would be great for the competition and to have these weekly practice tournaments, right? So that leading up to some major event, all these teams are extremely practiced in that tournament setting. So yeah, I think it definitely has benefits.
I got to bring up the point too, Wes. This actually just popped into my mind. It reminded me of the broadcast from Saturday. But this time right now, I guess in between games or major events or whatever you want to look at it, is still opportunity for people to improve, people to come up, people to kind of make a name for themselves and either thrive or fall back. And I think one of the things we got to bring up is Eco and friends, Wes, after the last couple of weeks, right? We saw them kind of slack off in Halo 3 and not really care. With the Renegade, Penguin, Stellar squad. And so we were kind of expecting like, well, hey, like they're probably waiting for Halo 5. They're probably, want to take that seriously. And then come Halo 5, to be pretty honest, like they were pretty disappointing, and we've seen kind of new names kind of filtering their way, and not saying that like necessarily they're going to replace those guys, but we have seen like a little shift in like who I'm looking at with power, because like Inconceivable now we're seeing him in the finals, every tournament. It's like, I don't know, man, there's chance, dude. You got to put in that work, Faisal. You can't slack off. Come on, dog.
I don't care. I know at the end of the day when Infinite comes out, I'll put anything on that. Eco, Stellar, Renegade, these guys, man, they are, I'm telling you, and I agree. I think from the outside looking in, sure. Like I expect those guys to be placing where they should be placing in the top 2 in the finals, top 3, if not winning or competing to win. I agree. They maybe not in Halo 3. Actually, definitely not in Halo 3 because a lot of the players never really played it. Yeah, no, sure. I mean, no. But for Halo 5, of course, I mean, we know what they've done and what they're about. World champions, like we know they can get it done. And to be fair, I did watch obviously I wasn't able to be a part of the stream this weekend. I was traveling, but you guys did a great job. Just side note, but I was watching y'all talk about this on my X, when you guys were broadcasting the tournament, and I completely agree with what Wes said, man. Like they're in a spot, we all know them as, aside from just a professional status, we know them as, as our friends and as people in the community. And we can kind of speak from experience or from knowing them with the type of personalities that they have, kind of like that laid back, like, we know we got it. And I know, and you guys touched on this too, where that's a dangerous mindset. Like you're tiptoeing around, being adequate, and you're tiptoeing around that, falling out of good graces with in the standings or whatever you want to call it. But I have full confidence. You could book it right now. You could quote this. You could save this clip of me guaranteeing this. But when Halo Infinite comes out, when Halo Infinite comes out, when Halo Infinite comes out, man, and there's some big, $1 million tournaments going on. These guys, man, Penguin, Stellar, Eco, and Renegade. These guys are going to be in the top, and I can promise that they're definitely some of the best players that Halo has to offer. And I agree, it's a disappointing seeing them not make it far in Halo 5, but. Come on, man. They're playing. Dude,
call it for what it is, man. Call it for what it is, bro. They're lazy. Like
it's beyond, it's a matter of
not worth their time. Like it's really not worth it. They made. Okay, go ahead, Wes. Go ahead.
It's a matter of effort, and they're just not putting effort in, and the results are showing. So we've seen what happens when they put effort in.
We've also seen what happens when they don't put effort in. They just win a world championship and they get 4th after, because they don't practice. So,
I mean,
with
Shotzi anymore. So actually,
these guys when they want something they can pretty much, they can get close to it. They can get it pretty much. I'm not going to say that they're going to be the best team. That if they want the $1 million team, they're going to be top 4 though. Absolutely, honestly, without a doubt.
I don't know why I'm even contradicting myself, because I just gave like a soliloquy of how they're going to be good, and
actually
they will
guaranteed it.
They really will. I know those guys are amazing, but Shotzi was a big part of that team success. Just
he's leaving the back door open. He's leaving the Halo 5 door open.
Well, Penguin fill those shoes.
This is what Sentinels calls the back door that Snakebite's known for. Whenever he makes a statement,
open, man. Just leave it creaked open. If you got an escape route, you can run out the door.
Yeah. You say a statement, but then you say a contradictory statement to leave the back door open just in case,
That's how we do it. 200 IQ.
Yeah, I mean, Shotzi, we just talked about it on our last show, man. He was 2 out of the 3 of us picked him as the greatest Halo 5 player. So what does that team look like without him? So far, I've seen a top 16 finish. I'm just going to leave it there. I know online you could say whatever you want, but I only got what I can say.
Oh, did they get 3rd today?
Okay, I didn't see today. Okay.
They played better today. Hey, give them a couple weeks. All right.
I didn't see today, so
you're right.
I stand corrected on that. Okay.
See, my thing is like Stellar for one. Stellar's one of those guys that like just grinded Halo 5 when it first came out, and he came up fast, and he was dominant. And I feel like Stellar when he when he hits that vibe and he's playing a lot, he's probably one of the best slayers in the game. Like just straight, like will end up somehow with 30 plus kills in games every single time. And when he doesn't play, and I watch the screen, I'm like, this isn't like dominant Stellar that I know. So hey, how you doing?
Hello.
This isn't dominant Stellar. Wait for Stellar to get a couple of weeks of practice and play under his belt before you start to judge him. And I don't know if he's actually going to do that for Halo 5 or if they're just pretty content with like being around.
I'm so glad you're wearing clothes.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
and again, I wouldn't, not to say, because from a competitive integrity standpoint, it's hard to say like, hey, it's hard for me not to say for them to give it their all, but I can't really blame them all that much if they don't go full on, like some of these other kids that really need to go full on to prove themselves, like the Bounds of the world, the Drucks, the Soul Snipes. Like those guys better put in their, as their 12-hour days. That's what I'm saying.
These guys are already up at the top.
You know what I'm saying? So like I don't blame them if they're taking this time as maybe, hanging out with their significant others, or if they're hanging out with family, just kind of taking time. They've won so much, they've got, they made a lot of money already with the Halo 5 stuff, and they've proven themselves to the people that they need to prove themselves to. All the top pros know those guys are also like really good, so they're not trying to prove anything like that. So again, I'm just trying to look at it from their perspective, or trying to be devil's advocate as to why we may not see them at the top that we're used to. I can see why they wouldn't want to go full force right now.
The one thing I'll say about this team that scares me is what they're doing right now and what they're putting themselves through is really is going to test their mental with each other. These guys, 3 of these guys have won a world championship and took down the biggest dynasty that, in my opinion, that we've seen in Halo in talks multiple times. Was the thorn in their side, and will always have a place. When we tell the story of the greatest Halo team that ever played, we will always have to mention how Splice came along, and then there was competition. But what they're doing right now is really a test of their mental, because they are going to have to be okay with unsatisfactory placings for a long time until they start to take it serious. And they all need to be okay with that, because this team is formed for Infinite. And if this team is formed for Infinite, they have to be headstrong while competing in other tournaments, not getting placings that they want, losing to teams that they have no business losing to, because they are putting in half-ass effort. And when they do that, they're going to get those results. So it's like, how long can this team sit here and get beat by Talik and Soul Snipe before they start to question if they're on the right team or not?
I don't think they'll lose to them again. If they've lost, I haven't even been keeping up with it like that. But if they've lost to those guys
twice in 2 days,
twice.
Okay, sure. And then again, not to disrespect those guys that are on the come up, because those guys always are going to demand respect for competing with the top dogs. But they already got 3rd place today. You were saying, right, Wes? Eco's team, they got 3rd today.
No, okay, I'm sure. Not worried about that.
Yeah, and just to kind of like go back on what you were saying, like this team was formed for Infinite. I mean, sure, there were, but this team also, they should be dominant in Halo 5. This is
I agree.
Game that all 4 of those players, made their names in Halo 5. So yeah, we can say that when they're playing Halo 3. Like we can say, oh, they were formed for Infinite, they're not a Halo 3. Sure, but when they're playing Halo 5, we can't say that this team was formed for the future. This is what they came up on. So if just like whenever me and some of the guys go back in Halo 3 and we're like, we kind of, after a couple of days, a couple of weeks of kind of getting used to it again, we expect ourselves to be winning and at the top. Same with these guys. Like, trust me, like they came in, if they're going to continue to play in these tournaments, which I suspect they will, and I have no reason not to think they won't. They got 3rd today. I bet you they'll get top 3 again in the next weekend, and they'll probably continue progressing. Maybe they won't beat Sentinels every time. Maybe they won't beat Inconceivable every time. But I think that we'll kind of see them fall into place where they should be as these Halo 5 tournaments go on, because that's where these guys came up. And once they get used to that heavy aim, the input lag, the 60
I expect that. I'm saying worst case scenario, if they continue to not win, it's got to be mental. They have to mentally be tough as individuals to understand that they are on the right team for when they do take it 100% serious and they put on grind mode for Infinite. I'm not sure they're going to ever turn that like seriousness on until Infinite comes out. So they're going to have to be okay with, like, and complacent with whatever they're getting throughout these tournaments in the meantime. Because
did we see them even turn it on in Halo 5 though? I mean, this was a team that was like built off of playing 2v2s. Like they were hungry, they wanted it, but we never saw them.
Though.
They played. Yeah, they put in the effort.
They played so people are like, yeah, they don't practice. Yeah, 3 years into the game, they don't practice because they've been playing every day for the past 1,365 days.
Like, yeah, they put in that 10,000 hours prior.
Yeah, they've been putting 8 to 12 hours in for the past 3 years. They don't need to scrim. They have a good idea of how good they are. They'll play some matchmaking and get their shot warmed up, but they're not developing new metas.
But to be fair, also, go ahead, Hunter.
I was just going to say really quick before we get too far away from it, before you go, Faisal, I do got to correct Wes on one thing before you deliver your point. Wes, in the future, when we talk about the greatest Halo team of all time and their dynasty, we're going to talk about how Carbon came around in 2006 and reignite a fire in them that propelled them into a dominant 2007 season for Final Boss. Don't get it twisted. The history books will say the greatest team of all time came across one obstacle, and it was Carbon. Anyways, Faisal, go back.
I was gonna say really quick. Honestly, man, now that Shotzi's not on this team, I don't even know if
it could be a problem.
They will. I don't think they'll be competing for first. I
agree.
I don't think they're gonna get first without somebody like a Shotzi on that team. Penguin is definitely a very nasty and skilled player, but we've talked about it time and time again with just like less than a handful of people in Halo's history that are just transcendent, just like nasty players that will literally join a team and make them contenders. Like the Frosties, the Roll 2s even, and then the Shotsies. So now that Shotzi's not on that team, man, I don't know. Well, I mean, they're still going to be a top 3 team, but I don't know if they'll be able to be what Splice was in Halo 5.
You made a guarantee earlier, Faisal. What was your guarantee that you made?
My guarantee was that they'll be a top team. They will be a top team.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and have my first guarantee ever on the On Max show right now. That team will not be in the finals of the first Infinite Major LAN event. That's my guarantee. I guarantee it right now here on My X. Record the clip. Eco and friends, you guys will not be in the finals in the first Infinite LAN event, especially if you keep going the way you're going right now. Anyways.
So I got Charles Barkley and I got Skip Bayless on my
Hey, am I Charles?
You're Charles.
Everybody loves Charles, man. Come on.
I guarantee it.
We're making guarantees about situations we don't even know in the future.
No, yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to what are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I love that discussion.
What we talked about so far.
I love that discussion. We were gonna jump next into the recap of the last 2 weeks that we kind of missed, but I feel like we need to tackle our biggest news story first before we even talk about teams and everything that's happened. Wes, there was some massive news in the Halo scene this week. We've known for a while, but what went down?
Pekino. Small news. No surprise here. Just another day in Halo, right? Actually, Frosty back in the scene. Absolutely ecstatic to see that happen. We talk about, Faisal, you said transcendent players throughout Halo's history, and Shotzi being one of them, Frosty being another, and it's great to have Frosty back and with the team that he's done the damage with, right? Sentinels, short-lived with APG, it feels like, but it was a good run that they had. They had a lot of tournament wins, but you always knew that Frosty, if he wanted to come home, that those shoes were probably going to be more than welcome back on that team. And they've already started to create some damage in the scene now that he's back.
Absolutely. Faisal, go ahead.
Yeah, Frosty is back on Sentinels. It was kind of some hush-hush, people were thinking, behind the scenes, no one knew for sure, or some people knew, but it wasn't public information, obviously. And the way, first of all, shout out to Sentinels. That video they released was awesome. Big fan of that kind of content. It creates hype. 10 out of 10. Great job with that announcement. But man, yeah, it's exciting news. A big name, who in esports now. We've seen him do in COD as well. Big name in esports. Frosty is back in Halo, so that's good for everybody who enjoys Halo and competitive Halo. We get to witness and watch this guy compete and just do crazy things and basically create metas for the game like he did in Halo 5. I expect him to kind of do the same thing going into Infinite, just really innovating how the game is going to be plate, especially at the early stages. I think he's one of those players who has that skill set to be able to do that. So excited to see, basically their run continue as Sentinels, right? You mentioned APG was on that team, and like we always say, kind of jokingly, the Sentinels has 5 players on the roster.
Yeah.
APG is he's so integrated into that group, and he's such a good, which is awesome. They're all such good friends. They've competed alongside each other, against each other, for over a decade now, pretty much. And so big shout out to APG as well, man. He filled in for someone like Frosty, and not many people could say they could fill in for Frosty and pretty much bring that team success, continue to bring that team success. So APG did that, and he deserves a lot of credit. But ultimately, man, we get to see Sentinels continue their run with their original roster that we all grew to love in Halo 5, Royal 2, Snakebite, Lethal, and Frosty. We'll have to see what they can do in Infinite. Will they continue their dynasty and continue to etch their names into the Halo history books? Or will some of these new young guns come and close their chapter, maybe before they expected? So definitely exciting. Like Wes was saying, we saw Frosty, Snakebite, and Royal 2. We've seen them compete the past 2 weekends, but instead of playing with Lethal, who's been busy winning Halo 3 tournaments, they are playing with Neptune, and they're busy winning these Halo 5 tournaments. So, everybody on Sentinel is doing big things, whether it's in Halo 3 or Halo 5, and man, these guys are we'll see what they do in Infinite.
Yeah, I don't think that Reign of Terror is ending anytime soon. They are nasty. I think, for me personally, I think the news of Frosty obviously re-signing with Sentinels, being back on that roster, could not have come at better timing. If you guys remember this week, it literally came, the morning or the day after that we saw the news that Snipedown signed with TSM for Apex. So it was like, man, that ship has sailed. Wow. A legend, in the Halo scene is now ascended to an even crazier level, being on an org like TSM. So I know that hit the Halo scene pretty hard, but then to see Frosty, securing his spot, coming back is cool. I don't know, man. Like, I got to look at it. There's a couple things that are on my mind about this, right? First of all, like the COD Pro League, I don't know what the hell the guys over there were thinking, not picking up Frosty on one of their rosters. Period.
Yeah, I was going to say shout out to the Mutineers and them releasing him, because when I watch tournaments, and I watch every tournament, Frosty was, I'm not going to say he was the best player on his team, but he was by far and away well-deserving of a spot on a potential winning team. He pops off in COD, and it was a pleasure to watch him switch over and dominate that scene like he did. Dominating the lose tournament. I mean, he won a few tournaments in the Pro League this year. And did so and performed unbelievable during them. I was shocked to hear that he couldn't get on a team, like you said, Hunt.
How many teams are in that COD league?
He may not have been the best player, but I feel like he was just such an impactful player.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? He
absolutely.
His movement and his awareness made him such an impactful player. And the only reason he wasn't the best player is because, in my opinion, he just didn't. I know he grinded, but the more he's like that investment you make because you see so much potential already, and it's just going to keep growing, right? He has history that's proven it. Like he was so impactful so quick. I'm shocked that he didn't get picked up on one of the teams.
Not to get into like Call of Duty meta, but it's like he was in a role where he like basically has to entry frag, like and like you're never gonna have good stats entry fragging. Like the best you can do is go. Like if you're going 1-for-1 as an entry fragger in COD, like you are the best player in the game, right? So like Simp does that kind of stuff, and he's wild. But Frosty, like I feel like every time I watched him, he was going off at tournaments, and I was just like, yo, he really is like the next special thing in COD too. I mean, obviously Shotzi is probably the best player alongside Illy and Simp. But like Frosty was not far behind those guys, and you give him more time, and he probably catches up.
Yeah, you got to look at it.
We should be happy that
we're happy.
They choked.
It just blows my mind. Like, think about it like this. I don't know how many teams are in the COD League. Like, let's say it's 16. I don't know. It might be around that number. Might be a little bit less. Might be a little bit more. Like, you have 16 teams in the COD League, and Frosty made it very clear that he wanted to join another roster. He was tweeting out, "Here, my business email is here. Like my email is open. Like I'm looking to really, improve a team." You have a player who won 3 major tournaments, the same amount that Dallas Empire won that year, excluding Worlds. You have the Mutineers. They won 3 major tournaments with a player like Frosty. And you mean to tell me that out of all those teams in the COD League, which so many of them didn't even come close to winning a tournament, not one single one thought they could move someone to pick up a champion, like an up and coming player? Like, that just tells me that they're lost.
Just like a lot of
they're
other
just lost, bro.
The truth is that it's like clicks, right? So
absolutely,
just like in other games, there's pro teams and pro groups and pro cliques, and that's what it is, man. These guys, they got their groups, and they don't want to mess up their contracts or their salaries and their boys with their teammates. So and at that level where they're getting paid the amount of money that they're getting paid, man, I think that was a part of it. As far as making I think it's clear, it's black and white how simple it is with. He should be on one of those rosters, but if I'm trying to justify it, I just think it's like comes down to the clicks of the pro players in COD and why he didn't get picked up. But I
don't know, man. It's like I watch a lot of Call of Duty, and you're gonna tell me people like slacked and people like apathy, like those. I mean, like trust me, I don't know these guys personally, and if they hear this, they'll probably hate me, whatever. But like Frosty's better than y'all. It's not even fucking close. And excuse my F word, but like I watch way too much. I watch you guys stream. Like, no, I'm sorry. Give me the new guy that's frying and winning tournaments in a second.
They slept on. Go ahead,
Hunter.
No, I was gonna say they slept on a multiple Halo World Champion and a 3-time Call of Duty champion in his first year in the league. Somehow wasn't able to land on even like one of your bottom teams trying to improve and fight to be better. Y'all are lost, literally lost. I don't even.
They needed a player, like I started when we started this subject. I said he was impactful. Some of those lower end teams could have used a player that could change the culture of the team, bring some impact on the roster, and now they slipped through their fingers, man. They really think they're gonna regret it. But hey, at the end of the day, their losses are amazing gain, and we're happy that Frosty's back.
I got to talk about that actually, the improvement, because I actually have a stat here. I had to pull it up that was tweeted out. Moses put out like the rosters with the most wins and like average team placings and stuff. It was a really cool graphic that he put out. So shout out to Moses for that. But that Tox lineup with Frosty on it is significantly better than the roster with APG. They have their average placing with Frosty is 1.4. They're literally averaging better than second place with Frosty on their team. With APG, their average placing is second, and they had their worst placing in their 5-year run. Go ahead, Wes.
I don't disagree with that by any means. Like, I see that statistic and I think, yes, they are a better team with Frosty. Frosty's a revolutionary player. That being said, they didn't jump across 5 different Halo titles the entire time. Like, skipping across, like, it leaves so little time to be able to separate yourselves from the pack, I feel like. So I don't want to give APG an unjust statistic like that, because it was like, all right, when Frosty was on Sentinels, they played Halo 5 and they played it for every single tournament. So it's like that you have that constant all through. It's like when you're switching between Reach 3, you're playing H2A, like you're jumping across titles. It's basically who's competing or who's practicing the most, who's putting the most time in. Like, not that gives them an excuse. I absolutely think that Tox is better off with Frosty. I think Frosty is the best Halo player on the planet. I've told you that. But that's a skewed statistic that I really don't. I saw that too, and I was like, I get it.
This doesn't include H2A stuff. This is strictly speaking of LANs. I believe APG obviously gave it everything he could every moment he was on Tox, and I believe that he was the perfect pickup for them in that season for what they needed. He was a specialist in kind of your Halo 3 classic run and gun Halo, but just strictly looking at the numbers, we know what Tox has done, what Sentinels has done with Frosty. We know what they've done with APG. They were just as dangerous with APG running into them in a tournament as they were. You don't want to match them either way. But the fact of the matter is, you take an excellent, already all-time great team, and they're just improving even more. With like you said, Frosty is in your opinion the greatest Halo player. You're only going to get better. And so I think for them, obviously, it made sense that they would move mountains to recapture, this piece of the puzzle that I believe they've been missing him. To be honest, I think that he's an irreplaceable talent. And I think APG's done a fine job, but they're going to be better off.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't think anyone debates Frosty on Sentinels. Definitely is what we all expect, and we all and just as play, aside from just being fans, I think we have more of a inside look at seeing it from a player's perspective and just as a competitor's perspective. And I think we can all agree that Frosty on that team added an element that, I mean, not to take anything away from APG, but really I can't even think of any players that could really replace that. There's few, right? The Shotsies and the Frosties. Like, there's really only two right now that I could think of. So for someone like APG is like right there, like that next best person, and it showed because they still won a lot and they were always right there, but they weren't doing it at that level as they were with Frosty. So I'm happy to see him back where he belongs. He belongs in Halo. Halo. Obviously, Halo players take pride in that. I think we as FPS players, first person shooter, we see some of the best talent in the world come from Halo. So naturally, some of the very talented people will get scoped out, and maybe they'll look to go down other avenues for possibilities. But ultimately, we love to see them stick around, and we love to see them continue to perfect their craft. And we're going to get to see that with Frosty on Sentinels. So I'm excited, and I think it's for the best, especially for that roster moving forward.
Yeah, and I think this will be an easy transition, right? We got an opportunity to see what Frosty looks like back with the boys in Halo this weekend. We had 2 Halo 5 tournaments with the Esports Arena. We had the ACS Open Cup.
And last weekend.
And last weekend. I missed that one. I'm sorry. But it hit me. I just got done casting the finals of the Esports Arena, and that's what Sentinels won, and it's Sentinels plus Neptune minus Lethal. And Game 3, it's a best of 3. It's Game 3. It's Fathom Flag. And all of a sudden, Frosty just takes over. And everyone in the game had like maybe 12 kills or less. And Frosty ends the game with 23. And they win 3-1 in like 6 minutes. And it just hit me. And I was just like, yeah, there's only one guy that does this, right? Like, there's only one guy that just picks up a rail. Like, he had 10 rail.
There were two, but now there's only one, thanks to Call of Duty.
There's only one guy that, one of them is playing COD right now in Shotzzy. But yeah, when I saw Frosty just take over that game, he got 10 railgun kills. He made the game so easy for the rest of Sentinels, and making the game easy isn't necessary for Royal 2, Snakebite, and Neptune alongside them. But like, when you have that player in Frosty that's just opening so many windows for these guys to establish themselves on the map and get in advantageous spots for their next fights, like, it just makes a world of difference. And it was something special to watch. And all this is going through my head as soon as this game ends. I'm just like processing, like, yeah, Frosty's back, and it's a serious problem for the competition because Sentinels went from, I'll say it like this, Sentinels was the #1 team in the world with APG. They might not have won every tournament, but they were still favorites in every series, I would think. Like, if Vegas was throwing odds out on every single series that they played in, they would have been favorites in every series. But with Frosty, I mean, like, this team it goes back to that, like, dynasty style of like almost untouchable feeling where you get on Twitch and you see that they're scrimming like whoever, and you're like, all right, the scrim's probably in an 11-0. It's just like, what degree is the 11-0? Like, did they come close to losing a game tonight? Like,
and we'll see if that, Halo 5, definitely they had that reputation in the beginning, and if history were to repeat itself, we will see them continue it in Infinite, being that kind of dominant roster that doesn't really even lose scrims. But we'll see, when Infinite comes around, what the meta looks like, who the top dogs are, and then who the unbeatable teams online are going to be, or obviously Sentinels are the favorites going into it, and they've proved it. They have so much like stock, because they not only did they do it in Halo 5, but they transition and they just do it in any Halo. So honestly, I really think that going in Infinite, they will continue to be the best team. But we'll see if that initial Halo 5 dominance they have might be hard to recapture to that extent.
Yeah, I think
just because of how dominant it was.
We've all three of us have had the privilege and the joy of competing in multiple Halo titles, so we've seen this happen time and time again. But when that Infinite drops, it's really going to come down to who's going to hit the ground running, right? Who's going to put in that extra work? Who's going to go the extra mile early on to really get ahead? I feel like in Halo 5 when it first came out, Tox, Optic, CLG, whatever you want to call them, they got ahead early on, and they basically left the competition behind for quite a while. It wasn't until 3 years later when Splice caught up and was able to finally catch their number. But that early sort of advantage, it's really going to come down to who's willing to put in the work. Wes, I know you want to say something.
Say the first year. I just remember being a part of that team the first year. I just remember getting online you guys need me tonight? And they'd be like, yeah, we need you. I'm like, you guys are going to 11-0 and need it, whether or not I'm sitting in my chair coaching you guys or watching Monday Night Football. It makes no difference, I don't think. But they're like, no, you need to be here. I'm like, all right, sure. But in all seriousness, they started to struggle in 17. They ran into some walls and Envy, and I think Splice won actually in 2017 as well. Bumps. They started to hit some bumps. They hit a couple walls in 18. But that first year, you're right. I think they were able to separate themselves.
It wasn't even close, man.
I mean, I walked into the venue I can do whatever I want this weekend. I just got to make sure I'm on time. I was like,
I'm going to be a world champ again.
That's the easiest job of all time.
Collect this ring real quick.
Oh, my God.
You gave me an easy segue, though, Wes, because I was thinking about things that stood out to me. Obviously, with casting the tournament on Saturday with you and Shyway. Shout out to him for jumping in and being a part of that broadcast with us. One of the things that really stood out to me in a very, very big way was Sane's gameplay. I mean, this man, I think, was playing damn near perfect individual Halos, so well put together, and they still lost. You know what I mean? It still was not enough seeing the performances this guy was putting on game after game after game. They still ended up losing that series. Obviously, they were able to push it to a game 5, but to see someone screen where it looks like they're absolutely dominating and they're still losing the series was one of those things where man, I mean, they just ran into Sentinels. You know what I mean? What can you do?
The issue is Sane's playing that good, but so are the other 4 players on the other team. All 4 of those guys are clicking, and it's I hate that Lethal's not playing. I'm gonna be honest. I hate that he's not playing in these tournaments with these guys because I just enjoy watching Lethal's point of view. Even in Halo 5, I think Neptune. If you're gonna replace anybody for Lethal for these tournaments, Neptune's probably the guy. He's absolutely nasty, unbelievably raw, but I still don't think that they're ever going to hit that ceiling that they can hit with Lethal. It's just such a special thing. I remember when I was coaching him, I'm literally standing behind their screens, and I'm like, this is why I don't play anymore, because I'm too competitive, and I can't find 3 other people on the planet that are going to be able to beat you guys right now. So there's no point in me competing. I might as well just coach you guys. And not that I had any intention of competing against them, and not that I would be in the finals or anything against them in Halo 5, but it was just that's the first time in Halo where I literally stood back and was like, yeah, my retirement was probably a good choice from the sticks, because I don't know if I would have been able to do I watched Frosty and I was like, I don't think at my best I was not that good. And that's something that when I look at people's screens, I'm like, when I was at my best, yeah, I'd like to say I competed with you, or I you remind me of myself, or we had similarities, but Frosty, you're better than me. I'll give you that. I'll beat you up in real life, but you're better than me in Halo.
No, I think we pretty much touched all the bases on. Wait, what happened? We're good?
No, your mic.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, yeah. We touched all bases. I think with Sentinels and Frosty and just overall excitement and just eager to see them move forward, and even in these these weekly tournaments, and we'll see.
We have the Pro League coming up. Yeah, we've got the Pro League this weekend's the first one.
We got the Pro League coming up, and we'll see. Obviously it's not their full roster. Lethal's not playing in it. They have Neptune, and they're still dominating. So excited to see that. But we also have to recap on some of the tournaments. I believe. Have we already touched on that?
No, we're gonna briefly, talk about the last 2 weeks. Essentially, we have had 2 Halo 3 tournaments on the Fridays, which Lethal and APG won both of them. Lethal, APG, Gilk, right? And then 1 weekend they had Trippy, 1 weekend they had Faisal. Is that basically what the core is? So, essentially, we've seen Sentinels splinter off into 2 separate units. One unit handling the classic Halo tournaments and the other dominating Halo 5. So we've seen Sentinels H3 team essentially win both Fridays pretty handedly. I don't think you guys have dropped a game even on the last tournament.
No, the last weekend we didn't drop one.
Yeah, so no games dropped there. Finals. Oh,
yeah,
come on, man.
I was surprised. I don't know how.
We're going to talk about it. Go ahead, dude. Talk about it.
I don't know how they lost to
the old man. Who let them out of the retirement home, bro? Who let the guys out of the geriatric center?
Look at the bracket to be able to tell you that one.
They lost to, they beat, for their spot in the finals, they beat Aries, Carries, Shelly, Fantasy, and Gab. So...
Yeah, Mason Miller, you've been doing this too long. Every once in a while, you have this unbelievable tournament where your team overperforms and you get like second place, and then I expect those results and that kind of play consistently, and you drive me crazy because in the next tournament you're losing to Elamite.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to throw too much shade at Elamite because when I was watching their stream, there's nothing like Elamite comms, bro. But his comms, bro. They're so good. His comms are so good. Yeah, like
Kyle knows exactly where he is in his career. Okay, but when the man competed, he was a legend. Okay,
from what I understand, you're totally right. Yeah. I was surprised to be playing.
They had Ryan.
We played Inconceivable. In the round before, so on our side of the bracket, Inconceivable was there, so we played them in the semis, and then on the top half was Ryan Noob, Neighbor, Hysteria, and Elamite against Gab and Fantasy's team. So we were able to take that Inconceivable series is definitely one that we were making sure we were ready for. Obviously,
we prepped them for you. We prepped them for you the round before, made sure they were a little softened up. We had a crazy series with them right before you played them, and then you guys swept them. And I was like, oh man, yeah, it was but it was it was cool obviously to see you guys do that. But I gotta say, like, the reason why I wasn't surprised about the Elamite Neighbor thing is Ryan, man. Every team with Ryan on it is a threat. I don't care who he has on his team. I don't care if he's got Sudoth 1 and 2 and I don't know whoever else is the 4th. Like, Ryan on a team is going to be a threat. And so he was able to rally those dudes. And it was funny to hear him like kind of roasting them for certain plays in the comms. Like, he would be laughing. He was laughing at Elamite for certain things he was doing. Like,
it was a little, I get it because, and naturally we played them in the finals. He was streaming. So I went back and watched the rebroadcast. And yeah, you could see him just like, just showing his face when they would do something wrong, rolling his eyes, or just like saying something to them. And and at first I was watching it with my brother. Actually, like I said, I'm visiting my house here in San Antonio, and we're watching it. And at first I'm going to set it like negative, like, oh look, Ryan. I was joking. I was like, Ryan is low-key toxic, like just being like, just kind of joking with him. My brother was like, honestly, like, what do you expect? Because a lot of the stuff that his team were doing, he was trying to, kind of lead them and coordinate certain things, and it wasn't going well.
You know what you signed yourself up for.
Yeah. Right? So and ultimately, after the series, they, they were all smiles, and they were saying, we made it to the finals. Like, it was.
I was gonna say, it's all fun and games until you end up in the finals, right? Then it's like, wait, should we actually be right away?
Hold up, we weren't supposed to be here.
But to see them beat Aries and them in a game 5, I was just like, wow.
And it was on their host. It was on Aries.
It was on the Aries host game 5, and it's like
player on your host game 5.
That can't happen.
But
that can't happen.
You gotta figure it out.
The best part of it was the best part was after those finals, like a couple of members from each team, we were all in Among Us right after that together. So it was like Ryan Noob and Aries and Elamite. We're all playing Among Us after, and you just hear Mason like, man, Neighbor carried you guys, like, like Mason Miller, obviously, like, but he like Neighbor was pop, like, it's crazy. Sometimes Neighbor randomly will just pop off and like
when Neighbor hits his zone, when Neighbor starts feeling himself and hits his zone, he can still play at a very high level.
And that's the thing about these tournaments too, these weekly, Halo 3 tournaments, and maybe in Halo 5 it's a little bit more set in stone with players and the rosters and stuff. But I think right now in Halo 3, aside from maybe a couple of teams, I think the fun thing about these tournaments right now is that it's very open, right? So maybe some weeks we'll have people playing with certain players. Other weeks they may switch it up and play with other players. Like, for example, the first week of these tournaments, I was playing with Ryan Noob, Spartan, and Rain. So the Magnanimous roster minus King Nick. And that, those guys had never even played the patch until we got on the day of the tournament. We were playing matchmaking hardcore, trying to warm up for our first series. Like, oh, this is what the new patch feels like. I'm like, come on, dog. But it makes sense. They're focusing on Halo 5. But either way, the first week I was playing with those guys. Second week I was playing with Lethal and APG and these guys. And same thing with, Ryan Noob. First he was playing with that team. This week he's playing a neighbor in this series. So I think that element of some of the teams potentially moving around a little bit and adding new players just kind of adds some fun to it.
It's fun for sure. Yeah.
They're just kind of like throw together tournaments and teams and stuff.
Yeah, it's not as serious as the Halo 5 league, which I think we should touch on right now. Obviously, the first weekend kind of didn't really matter as much as last Saturday, which was to decide the spots. Really quick off the rip, Wes, was there anything that stood out to you on Saturday that was like kind of shocking, something you were not expecting in terms of the way that tournament played out?
Yeah, how bad Ace's team played.
What the
They
heck?
got top 32, and Ace did not. It is very clear that Ace
Who was
did
on
not
his
put in
team?
enough.
Ace,
Arctic, Ace, Jorizo,
Sabinator,
Zero.
and Sab.
and
Yeah,
Sab.
Dude,
Not Jorizo.
Chorizo, whatever his guy's name is.
Zero.
Chorizo. Until he places well, he's chorizo.
Chorizo? Like
So
churro?
Caucasian.
It's like a Spanish dip.
So Caucasian in the U.S. Golly.
This man said it's like a Spanish dip.
You know what I mean? Chorizo. What you dip the chips in? Absolutely.
Oh, that's not his name.
What's happening right now?
It's chorizo. I'm making a joke because
Jazero, not Jorizo. Jazero.
well, until he plays better, I'm not pronouncing his name because it's irrelevant to me, okay? Because you getting top 32 with Arctic, Sab, and Ace on your team, unacceptable. I don't care how bad Ace is playing. You got to figure it out. You got to make your way into the Pro League. I'm not pronouncing your name right until I see you play better.
Who did they lose to?
They lost to Bohm X, Eli Elite, Its Name, and who was their fourth? Do you remember? I don't remember who their fourth was. But it was that for sure. Like it was, and they got whopped. Like they were down 2-0 in the series, barely won a game 3, and they got mollywopped in the game 4 to be out of the tournament in top 32, not even make the Pro League. So
yeah, they don't get to play next weekend because of how bad they played. That's how bad they played. They played so bad that there's 16 teams that get to play next weekend, and they're not one of them.
And when you look at some of those 16 teams, you're like, man, okay. You know, like next week is going to be a learning experience for you. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, like you made your way in. You're going to see what it's like to play against the real sharks. You know, you don't got floaties.
You're going to get Sentinels in your pool, and it's going to be the fastest games you ever played in your life.
Yeah, but they'll learn something, you know. But to see Ace and them, like, I don't care if Ace hasn't played whatever, like, I don't know, man. It was one of those things where, like, the last game that they lost, I think it was like Ace and one other player. It wasn't just Zero. One of the other players was like, they were both 5-13 and 5-14.
Yeah,
like,
Ace
just not
5-14 in game 5.
Yeah, just not holding their own weight at all.
You got to put more. If there's a Halo 5 tournament that you have to qualify for the Pro League for or whatever is going on, maybe you should like play Halo 5 for a little bit and warm up because it was
tough
clear.
Though, man. Playing on that heavy aim,
I get it.
FPS,
but everybody else is doing it. I don't see
Lethal. You're a smart man. No.
I don't see Chorizo in the finals or whatever.
Lethal's always been ahead of his time. FYI.
Yeah. He just said, I'm not even going to deal with it. I'm just going to stick to Halo 3 for now. So
Halo 3 on PC, dude, on the new update, man. Y'all are asleep. Come on over. The hardcore playlist is very inviting. You know, we accept all. Come one, come all. You know,
very
Halo 3.
We'll welcome you in with fresh steaks. We'll welcome you in steaks at the door.
I'm telling you, this is my honest opinion. That new update, the new patch registration, along with obviously the fact that it's on PC, man, Halo 3 is running smooth as butter. I'm hearing some of these mouse and keyboard players. Obviously, it's a little bit late now, but the mouse and keyboard players saying it's a lot better now. If you get a chance, man, play Halo 3 on PC. We're still running tournaments every week. It's the place to be. It's the hot spot.
really quick, back to Halo 5 before we get too far off topic. Yeah, that was the most shocking thing for me as well, Wes. I don't think anything else really stood out to me other than the fact that Sentinels literally almost went 2 weeks in a row without dropping a game. They won the first weekend without dropping a game. Second weekend, they get to the finals. They're up 2-0, and they're up big in game 3 against Inconceivable, and it kind of felt like they let their foot off the gas a little bit, let them creep back in.
Absolutely,
and then that series ends up going to game 5, and they end up winning it out. So Sentinels is going to be the #1 seed going into the Pro League. Like they did it against a really good Inconceivable team, which, you know, surprised me a little bit. Do you guys see it kind of playing out similar to the H2A Pro League, where Sentinels are just going to wipe the floor with everyone for every single week?
I think Sentinels is going to continue to be the favorite. And how many more weekly tournaments are there? I forgot what the exact number was.
They're going into the Pro. There's quite a few. Yeah, there's quite a few.
Honestly, let's just throw a number out there. Say there's 5. I would expect them to win. Honestly, like 4, like if not 5. But yeah,
if they don't win 4, it's a disappointment. The only other team I could see stealing one is if Reps puts in the reps and they
Inconceivable, man.
Yeah, Inconceivable, man.
They push them to game 5.
They could do it if they're having a good day.
I mean, Inconceivable. I'm tired of ruining these kids out there. They're starting to get on my nerves with that.
They're in every finals.
Every finals. They're in every finals. These guys make their way into every finals, and sometimes they create that upset. So
what's up with Magnanimous? Where are these guys at?
Man, those guys are slump.
Oh,
I'm a Magnanimous fan, and as a fan, I literally hype up Magnanimous every tournament. Every tournament they let me down. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done with you guys.
We'll drop it. We won't talk about that much.
On the broadcast, he literally was like, every time he was like, "I love this Magnanimous roster. They've got this, and going from, and then they get like 3-1 every single time." It's like, come on.
We'll touch
from the win. Just like, I think that this upset can happen, and then I'm like watching the games. I'm like,
nah. Yeah. No, we'll wait.
It's in the kitchen that's more interesting than you guys competing right now.
No, and to their credit, you know, in the interim with the Halo 2 anniversary, with Halo Reach, even Halo 3, they were definitely on top a lot of the way. Halo 5, again, surprisingly enough, because in my opinion, aside from Ryan Noob, I think it was everyone else who's on that team's best Halo, right? Rain, King Nick. And Spartan. It was all 3 of theirs best Halo. Ryan, it probably wasn't his best Halo, even though he was really good at it still. So surprising that every other Halo they were doing better, but in the one that, again, like we saw with Reps too, even though they did get 3rd today. But you know, I think it'll, as the weeks go on and they get more and more reps in, and they kind of get more practice and kind of get that muscle memory back a little bit, that they should be back to where they need to be. But I agree that they've been a disappointment, along with the team like Reps, who up until today weren't even getting close to the finals.
To me, Ryan in Halo 5 it doesn't have the same advantage that Ryan typically has in other Halos, where he's able to like completely read the entire situation, understand everything, run this algorithm in his head, and make this only Ryan new play to where it works out right. It's like in Halo 5, I just don't see him sticking out like that. He's not a game changer in Halo 5, I don't think. And maybe he can. Maybe I'm wrong. But when I watch Ryan, I don't see him change the outcome of games like I do when I watch him play Reach, or when I watch him play Halo 3, or when I watch him like basically play any other Halo. I'm like, yo, Ryan just changed the outcome of this game with that play. I'm missing that in Halo 5.
I think Halo 5 is just a very like combat shot-based game. From what I watch, it's so fast-paced, and Ryan's extremely talented. I'm not taking anything away from his shot, but he is not a shot-based player. His skills in Halo are so much big picture, big meta, type of vision, that in a game like Halo 5 is a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more like, one-on-one fights all the time, being ready for that. I think, he doesn't stand out as much, like you were saying. One of the things I gotta bring up really fast before we kind of close things out, before I throw it to you, Faisal, is I've been getting a couple requests on my stream, and I figured I would just throw it out there for you guys. I've had a couple people request that the On My X crew do the caster team for one of these Friday Halo 3 things. I know, Faisal, you're a champion, but so if you ever find it in your time to have time in your schedule, we might have to have Wes.
I don't know if I'm allowed to compete, but if I find out I am, I'd be down. But I mean, would Faisal grace us with his presence?
I don't know, man. He's winning. I'm barely in the top 8. So.
Now I'm not even gonna.
Can we run some games first? No, man.
The opportunity to even think about that. I didn't pick up Faisal back when I competed.
No. Obviously, no disrespect to Wes. He's freaking, when Halo was on top, this man was winning national championships. So obviously, he's moving on to bigger and better things. Obviously, it's still in the realm of Halo, but now this guy works for Microsoft.
Don't make me get Tuskmaster Fear and and went sore out. I will break them out on you and crack some backs once again.
No, but definitely we'll talk about it offline. We'll see what the deal is. But before
just saying, the last time we played a series.
Yeah, no. Before I close this out, I do want to talk about something. This past weekend in the Halo 5 Pro Series tournament, we had the On My X Twitch stream, which just FYI is going to be in the description down below. We got to make sure we change some settings up so that you guys can watch the rebroadcast. But the rebroadcast for these guys is, commentary is going to be up. But before I get ahead of myself, these guys, Shyway, thank you to Shyway, Alex, for joining the team and commentating along with obviously Hunter JJX and Wes Price, aka Clutch. These guys commentated just as a fun, as a fan essentially. We're commentating these tournaments or the tournament on Saturday. And it was a great time, man. These guys put on a great show, great production, something for the community to enjoy. So hopefully, let us know in the comment section, what if you liked it, what you wanted to see more on the show, on the broadcast, and let us know some recommendations you may have. But we'll see. We'll talk about our schedules more and try to see if we can make sure to bring you guys live coverage and live commentary for these Saturday Halo 5 tournaments, and maybe even other tournaments that may pop up. So. I want to give it to you guys for a second to speak on, your experience with the first kind of On My X Twitch stream and what came out of that for y'all.
Go ahead, Wes. You can take it first.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what I was signing myself up for. I'm gonna be honest. It's Saturday. Got done with a busy week. Was gonna watch some college football. I was like, yeah, sure. I'll chill out and do it. And we actually end up having some production value out of it, I guess, because we actually turned it into quite a bit of a show. Obviously just three of us, me, Hunter, and me, Justin, and Shawway, just hanging out, doing some casting and just kind of getting some reps in there. But it ended up being a good time. It ended up actually feeling like we hit a good groove of like professionalism. We almost it felt like we were running a show, and I was like, oh, I gotta take this serious and actually put some effort into this because it's a little bit more serious than what I thought it was about to be. We got a retweet from the HCS Twitter. I was like, oh great, here we go. Now I gotta sit up in my chair. I was gonna chill out, eat some pizza, commentate, but no, I actually had to almost call it work to a sense. But it was a good time, man, and absolutely just. It was fun. We hit such a good stride that it was it reminded me of just doing the HCS stuff without actually doing with the whole production value and the producer and everything in our ears and an actual program and a show with commercials. It was actually I thought it went pretty well. Looking forward to seeing where we can go with it and how we can improve it. Any advice from you guys is always welcome. So make sure if you had an opportunity to check it out, you can tweet at us. You can always leave comments in YouTube. You can always watch the rebroadcast. If you didn't, we're going to turn on that rebroadcast. I know it was off. We just made the On My X Twitch show, page, so bear with us while we get all the settings and everything tweaked for you to make it more user-friendly, to make it more just a better experience for everybody involved, because that's what this is. This is just us trying to give the community as much content as we can and have some fun along the way, and we're hoping that that's what we're reaching with these goals.
Yeah, for us, I mean, it's never been about the money, right? Halo is just something we're passionate about, something we love.
If there is money, you better let me know.
Yeah, we're here to just bring you guys content, and it was our first time ever going live on the page, and there was some fun, weird quirks. I forgot to even put it on a game, so it wasn't even on the Halo 5 page at first, and it was we still had 20, 30 people in there, but then we got all that situated, and once the HCS tweets started going out, and they were oh, check out the semifinals. The stream is twitch.tv/onmyx. I'm like, wait a second.
What did we just sign up for?
I was like, is this now a sanctioned event? We had a lot of fun. We caught some stride, and it was really cool to see the chat getting involved. So much love, people dropping follows, and we were at over 100 viewers on the finals and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see that for our first stream ever on the show. Obviously, we miss Faisal, so we're really looking forward to having him on next time. We talked about how much fun it'll be to do a quad show with him and Shyway, so we have a resident Halo 5 expert with us for these pro tournaments. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed them, be sure to let us know, and what you want to see. We've thrown the idea around of doing even these podcasts maybe live once in a while in the future. You never know. But yeah, it was a good time, Faisal. Thanks for throwing it over to us for that, and we're looking forward to seeing how these pro tournaments are going to go and throwing a show together for you guys for that.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think I mentioned it at some point in the show, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to be on the commentary side of things with these guys a couple of days ago for the tournament. I was actually traveling to a different city to visit my family, so I was out of commission. But I was tuning into the channel, and these guys obviously did a great job, like they always do. And Shyway, the Halo 5 expert, was always great. So hope you guys enjoy that, and I will be more involved in the commentary on the On My X channel moving forward with these guys. So I am excited to bring you guys more content. And at the end of the day, it's all for the love of Halo, right? So let us know, man. Let us know what you want to see, and keep your eyes open, keep your ears. Am I saying that right? Keep your ears open,
Ears
keep your
peeled.
eyes.
Yeah.
Ears peeled.
No, that's
Okay.
not it. No,
Yeah,
no, no,
that's
no,
not
no.
it.
Ears open, eyes.
Keep your ears open, eyes peeled. We may have a special guest on the next show, right? So we're on episode 9 right now. The next episode is going to be a
Woo!
benchmark for us. It's going to be a big point for the On My X brand and just a show and what we are in general. It's going to be our 10th episode. 10 weeks going strong. So we might do something special. So keep your eyes open for that. And make sure you're following all of our, everywhere to reach us, Twitter and the YouTube and stuff. And keep your eyes open, man. We're going to bring you guys something exciting. But that's going to do it for this week's On My X show. Like we mentioned when the show started, we're catching up on quite a lot. The first time over the course of all 9 episodes where we did last episode kind of early in the week. So we had like about 10 days to catch up on for this one. So
Yeah.
I hope you guys liked all the information, all the content we brought to you today, all of the recaps. But from this side of things, that's going to close out the show. Again, my name is Faisal Khan, aka Goofy, and I'm joined with Hunter JJX, aka Justin Joseph.
He's got it all back. It's whatever.
And Wes Price, aka Clutch. Guys, that's gonna do it for us. So until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Peace.